Good morning, viewers, and thanks for joining me as we explore yet another amateurly edited video discussing lore that almost everybody knows already. Today we are going over the basic lore of the most basic race, of those who have the most basic quests, the humans. The human starting zone of Northshire Valley is nestled in the foothills of Elwyn Forest next to the capital city of Stormwind. There really isn't anything too fascinating to discuss with the quest chains here, as it's more of your standard intro into the game. But I guess if you're already choosing to play human in a fantasy game with over 10 unique races, or 18 if you have allied races involved, that you get to choose from, then you probably aren't looking to get too crazy from the get-go. But anyway, you join the world as a fledgling adventurer looking to make your stamp on the world. Marshal McBride, who is a commanding officer of the troops in Northshire, will be their first quest giver to call to your attention. He asks for your recruitment papers and explains that you have arrived just in time for your training to be put into practice. As in traditional Warcraft fashion, the orcs have made their way into the human encampment from the hills of Blackrock and are threatening the garrison. He sends you to the front lines to thin their numbers, starting off with the Blackrock battle wargs. Take up your mighty hammer and begin whacking away at them, realizing that most of them will die in one good smack due to it being your very first quest. Returning to McBride, he will give you the cliché, "That's only the beginning" speech as you accept your next quest, Lines for Lambs, telling you that the orcs aren't fools and are sizing you up with their spies. The humans have spies of their own though, and have discovered that they are pretty close to the camp. Like, painfully close. As in, they are literally walking distance from McBride and the garrison, and you can see that the spies aren't very good at their jobs. Just look at this guy. What is he even looking at? A bush from 2 feet away? His friend getting attacked? Or his pup getting attacked? You can even sit next to him without him noticing. Or, what about this guy? This goofball is using his spyglass to look at the ground right in front of him. Like, literally a foot away from him, at the ground. He's not doing anything for his friends. Needless to say, slaying 6 of these spies will be a cakewalk for you, and once it's done, you can report back to McBride with your good news. Now that you've killed the orcs, wargs, and scouts, it's time to join the real battle. McBride sends you to report to Sergeant Willem, who is heading the defense north of the Abbey. His dialogue is a little interesting upon meeting him, making it sound like you all being ambushed was a rumor, but it's true, and he doesn't dare send any more men into the field, with the exception of you, of course. I mean, you are the hero of the game, and thus you're expendable in pretty much every situation. He'll tell you that there are goblin assassins slaying soldiers in the field, but he presumes that you've never seen a goblin before, and then proceeds to describe them to you as green-skinned monsters. So, orcs? Maybe this is why Willem is still a sergeant and hasn't been promoted yet, or maybe this is why he's also losing a ton of his soldiers because he's not very clear giving directions on what he wants. And while you're on the front lines, also pick up the quest Fear No Evil from Brother Paxton, who is a priest that needs help healing the wounded. In my case, he notices that you're paladin and are blessed by the light, so his dialogue may be a little different depending on what class you're playing. But regardless of who you're playing, he gives you a book of healing where you can go and heal 4 wounded soldiers for a quick recovery lying within the goblins. Turn in both quests for your rewards, then Willem will give you one more quick quest back to Marshal McBride to report your deeds. Run back to the garrison, this time for the quest Blackrock Invasion. He will tell you that the orcs began moving to the other side of Northshire Valley and are now burning down their crops in the fields. He wants you to head over there and slay 8 of them, and recover their weapons as proof of your kills. As you enter the burning fields, you'll discover that this quest may be the most difficult out of the entire valley, and that's simply because there's a lot of mobs here, and they're the only mobs in the entire valley who aren't neutral to you. So you can gain aggro walking around the field and pull, but let's be honest, your powers are pretty souped up in the beginning, and they shouldn't cause you any real trouble. Before you complete the invasion quest, you should have also picked up the Extinguishing Hope quest from Millie Osworth. She draws reference to the questline before Cataclysm, where the Defias bandits were stealing her grapes. She is horrified that she is not only losing her vineyard this time, but that the orcs are burning it to the ground to make it so she can never plant there again. She gives you a fire extinguisher, which is basically the WoW equivalent of Blastoise's hydro pump cannon, to strap to your back. This is actually kind of a fun quest with some unique flair, and at least stands out in Northshire Valley. Your objective will be to go around the vineyard and spray all the fire spots with your extinguisher, and it's actually pretty fun to just whip around and extinguish everything in sight. Once the fires are put out, return to Millie first, who thanks you greatly for trying to save her vineyard and gives you a reward of a bag and a cloak. Then head over to Marshal McBride for your final quest, ending the invasion. The scouts have discovered the leader of the Orcish warband, who is named Kurtok the Slayer. He is camping out north of the vineyards where you just were, and who must be put down. Once you find his tent, he is admittedly a tough fight and may actually bring your health bar down some. But you should still be able to slay him, and once you have, you can feel accomplished that you have now saved the valley and disbanded the Orcish threat. McBride will tell you that now that the orcs have retreated, they will attempt to seal the passage from the mountains so that there will be no more invasions. He leaves you asking for one final favor, to bring a report of what has happened here to the next town over of Goldshire. And now that you have completely single-handedly thwarted the Blackrock invasion, it is time to leave the valley for bigger and better things in Elwyn Forest. And with that, you have completed the human starting zone. I'm not gonna lie, stacked next to the other starting zones and what the human starting zone used to be before the Cataclysm expansion, I was pretty disappointed with the content I did here. They stripped a lot from the lore from the storyline here, where there used to be an infested mine with kobold vermin to the Defias bandits being introduced as a rebel human faction. It seems like they really dumbed the zone down with just having you fight orcs the entire time. There's not really anything dynamic or unique about it. But what do you all think? Am I just overthinking it with it being a starting zone, or did it really lose some of the magic and flair in the storyline? Tell me in the comments below, and I really appreciate you watching all the way through. If you want more WoW content from me, leave a like or subscribe so you can catch my weekly videos, or go back and watch my old ones. And with that, I will catch you all on the flip side. See you next week.